Now we return to the big broadcast and Nick Carter, Master Detective.
And now, presenting Nick Carter, Master Detective. Starring Lon Clark. In the case of the too careful killer. It's always difficult for a handsome young man to tell a girl he doesn't intend to see her anymore. And in Lillian Howard's smart little studio, Barry Kent is having trouble finding the right words.
I don't understand. Why, Barry? Why quit now? You're just beginning to sing.
I know, but, well, it's Irene.
Oh, the jealous wife, huh?
I'm afraid so.
But you only come here to coach with me. I'm only the little old accompanist.
I know, but, well, Irene's older than I am, and, oh, look, Lillian, you know what I mean.
You married the old girl for her money, and you don't want to take any chances on losing it.
That's not it at all.
Look, Blue Eyes, if you're going to be a 10-carat about this, so will I. I want 10,000.
10,000?
Yes, or I'll tell your wife plenty.
But there's never been anything between us.
No, but what I choose to tell might be very different.
But, Lillian, as long as she lives, Irene will never give me that kind of money without an explanation.
As long as she lives. Well, that's your problem.
Are you suggesting that I...
If you don't want to lose old money bags, get me that 10,000.
WBZ's big broadcast benefiting muscular dystrophy continues in just a moment.
Nick Carter's office. Patsy Bowen speaking.
This is the Cape Cod General Hospital. We have an accident case here. It's a Mr. William Burton.
Bill Burton.
He was struck by an automobile and has a broken leg, and he wishes to talk to Mr. Carter. He says it's very urgent.
I see. Will you tell Mr. Burton? I'm sure I can get Mr. Carter there in half an hour. Well, Bill, I told Miss Gibson half an hour. It's exactly 27 minutes.
Sweet, dependable Patsy. Thanks for coming, Nick.
Well, what's the problem, Bill? If I know you, it's more than a broken leg.
Well, I'm on a case. It's practically finished, but I can't collect until I close it out. And I need the dough.
I'm listening.
Well, you've heard of Irene Kent.
Irene Kent?
Very, very high society, Nick. On the wife's side, the family escutcheon is Etheridge.
Etheridge? Well.
Yeah, she lost some jewelry, a couple of rings, a wristwatch. She hired me to get them back without letting the police or insurance company know they were stolen. Well, I found the jewels in a downtown pawn shop. They were hocked for $2,000. All you have to do is get the money from her, pick up the stuff, and deliver it.
Oh, Bill, you know I don't get involved in undercover stuff.
Nick, this is strictly on the level. The jewels belong to Mrs. Kent. I've checked them out. But if you don't feel right about it, maybe you can persuade her to let you recover the jewels through the police.
All right, Bill, I'll give it a try.
Thanks, buddy. Here's her phone and address. I've already cleared it with her. You take it from here.
And the man, that is the person who stole the jewels, did the pawnbroker give you a description of him, Mr. Carter?
Yes, Mrs. Kent. About 30 years old, tall, good-looking, blonde, blue eyes, and he wore a green scarab ring.
Oh.
Mrs. Kent, are you all right?
What name did the man give?
Roger Brown, but I suppose it was an alias.
Of course. And after all I've done for... Mr. Carter, are you sure that if you recover my jewelry through the police, there need be no publicity, no arrest?
As long as you refuse to prosecute.
Very well. I'll write you a check for the pawnbroker.
And Mr. Burton's fee?
When you deliver the jewelry. Can you be here at 10 tomorrow morning?
Yes, I think so.
Very well. I'll depend on that. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock sharp.
Now, I'm Nick Carter. This is Miss Bowen. We have a 10 o'clock appointment with Mrs. Kent.
Up yet, sir.
Oh, it's odd. She made a particular point about my being here at 10.
Won't you come in?
Thank you.
If you'll be seated, I'll tell her you're here.
Thank you.
Well, after being so imperious about our being here at 10, you'd think she'd get...
Oh, hello.
Good morning.
I'm Barry Kent.
Oh, Mr. Kent, my name's Nick Carter. This is Miss Bowen.
Hello.
How do you do?
Are you Mrs. Kent's son?
I'm Mrs. Kent's husband.
Oh, sorry.
Say, you're not Nick Carter, the detective, are you?
I'm a private investigator, yes.
But why should Irene? What?
Oh, Mr. Kent!
What in the world is...
Mr. Kent, get a doctor, quick!
Why, what is it?
What's the matter?
It's Mrs. Kent. I can't wake her up. It's just like she's dead.
Mrs. Kent?
Oh, Mr. Carter.
The doctor said it'd be all right for me to talk with you for a moment.
You gave us quite a scare. Your maid said she thought you tried to kill yourself.
Kill myself?
Yes, the doctor said you'd taken a heavy overdose of those sleeping powders he gave you.
But I didn't. I only took one.
Only one?
Well, that's all I ever take. One powder in a glass of milk.
Did you prepare it yourself?
No. Barry fixed it for me, as always.
Your husband?
Mrs. Kent, this is serious. If your maid hadn't found you in time, you might have been dead by now.
Oh, I remember now. The one powder Barry gave me didn't take effect, so I got up and took some more.
Mrs. Kent, you wouldn't be trying to shield your husband, would you?
No, I tell you, I took the others myself, but...
But what?
But even if you were right, Barry is all I have. I love him. If I lost him, death would be very unimportant.
It's a rather foolish attitude, Mrs. Kent.
Well, that's the way I feel. And now, please, leave me alone.
The maid said you wanted to see me, Mr. Carter.
Yes, Mr. Kent, I did.
It's about Lillian Howard, isn't it?
Lillian Howard?
The nightclub entertainer?
Yes, Miss Bowen. She also coaches singers. When I married Irene, I was a singer, but eventually Irene made me give it up. I wanted to see if I could make a comeback, so I've been coaching with Irene afternoons, but it looks like my comeback ended 10 days ago.
Well, why 10 days ago?
I have a very jealous wife, Mr. Carter, and Lillian is quite a beautiful young lady.
Go on.
Well,
Yes?
Lillian threatened to go to Irene.
To what purpose?
Money.
Blackmail?
Mr. Carter, I swear there wasn't anything between Lillian and me, nothing at all.
Mr. Kent, I'm not here because of Lillian Howard. I was engaged for something entirely different. I'm through with the case.
Then why did you want to see me?
Let's forget that for now. Put it this way. Your wife nearly had a fatal accident. In view of what you just told me, if she should have one that is fatal, it could be awkward for you. Very awkward. And very unpleasant.
More of our Nick Carter adventure when WBZ's big broadcast benefiting muscular dystrophy continues in just a moment. Now, back to the case of the too careful killer, starring Lon Clark as Nick Carter. It is the following morning in Nick's office.
You know, Patsy, I keep thinking about Mrs. Kent and her husband.
Because she lied about the sleeping powders and the stolen jewels?
No. Kent didn't connect our presence with the robbery. Simply took it for granted we were there about this Howard girl.
See, that is funny. Especially since she didn't mention it.
Hello, Nick Carter speaking.
Hi, Nick. This is Matty. I'm afraid we'll have to call off that lunch date of ours.
What's up, Matty?
The captain assigned me to that Hamilton Park murder. I'll be tied up all day.
Hamilton Park murder?
Yeah, pianist in a cocktail bar. Name of Lillian Howard.
Lillian Howard?
Yeah. Did you know her?
No, but I know a guy who did.
Well, swell. Have him come down to headquarters.
I'll do better than that, Matty. I'll bring him down myself.
Now, look, Mr. Kent, you admitted to Nick that this Howard girl was trying to blackmail you.
Yes, but I haven't seen her for 10 days.
And you didn't pay her any blackmail or give her any expensive presents?
No, she meant nothing to me.
Now, how about the diamond wristwatch she was wearing? It was stolen from your wife.
The watch wasn't stolen. I don't know where Lillian got it.
And the $2,000 you got when you pawned your wife's jewels, I suppose you didn't give that to Lillian either?
I never gave Lillian a cent except for the lessons.
No? Well, the day after you pawned the jewelry, she deposited $2,000 in her bank account.
I don't know anything about that, Sergeant. Believe me. I pawned those things because Irene asked me to.
Well, why did you give the pawnbroker a false name?
Irene asked me to. It said it would avoid embarrassing her.
Then why should she hire Bill Burton?
Yes, why hire him to recover them if they weren't stolen?
Well, I don't know. I simply don't know.
And you weren't anywhere near Hamilton Park at 11:30 last night?
No, I wasn't. I was at a movie.
Now, just a minute. Come in, Bronsky.
Okay.
Well, Bronsky?
That's the guy, all right. The blonde fella.
Who is this man?
The cab driver who picked you up in front of the Corwin Theater at 11:10 last night.
I took a cab from the theater, but it was later than that. It was after 12.
Oh, sir. I got it right here on my trip card. 11:10.
Why'd you take him?
To Hamilton Park. Right opposite the place that dame was killed. I got him there at exactly 11:25.
Which puts you there at the time of the murder, Kent. I'm going to have to put you in custody.
After all these years, to learn my husband is a murderer.
Now, wait, Mrs. Kent. We haven't proved
He's
it.
been seeing that girl for months. Look at these letters. I found them this morning.
Letters from Lillian Howard?
Yes, Miss Bowen. They tell the whole shameful story.
Well, what the DA would do with this. Thanks for the watch, darling, and the 2,000.
One of them even speaks of how they plan to kill me with those sleeping powders.
So you did lie about taking them yourself?
Yes. I was trying to shield Barry. And read this, dated yesterday.
Yesterday?
Meet me tonight at 11:30, our usual place in Hamilton Park. If you aren't there, I'm going to your wife, Lillian.
Golly, what that would do to a jury.
Hey, Nick, I've been searching Kent's room. I think I've got something.
So have we, Sergeant. Letters from Lillian to Barry.
Indicating?
He killed her to keep her from coming to me about their sordid affair.
And there's your motive.
And what did you find?
This?
A gun.
Is this your husband's, Mrs. Kent?
Yes, Sergeant. It's a war trophy. Barry brought it back from overseas.
And it's the same caliber that the one that killed Lillian Howard.
Any fingerprints?
No, Nick. Wiped clean.
Wiped clean?
Yeah. I'll lay you 10-1 that this is the gun that killed her. We'll have ballistics check it against the 2 slugs we recovered from the body.
I thought she was shot 3 times.
Yeah, but 1 bullet passed completely through the body and was lost. But the 3 empty cartridges are still in the gun.
Wow. Looks like a pretty complete case, doesn't it, Matty?
Complete? It's airtight. The guy doesn't have a chance. He'll get that chair for sure. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Kent.
You needn't be. I've been a fool long enough. I hate him, and I'll be happy to see him go to the electric chair.
Now, look, Barry. It was your gun that killed her. You've got to give me the truth.
I've been telling you the truth.
You lied about being in the park last night.
Yes, but that was the only thing I lied about. I couldn't let Irene know I'd gone there to meet Lillian.
Well, that I can understand, but... Look, Barry, tell me about your marriage to Irene.
Okay, Irene is rich. I know people think I married her for her money.
Perhaps because she's older than you?
But I didn't. I was really a kid. Just out of college. I had my first singing job with a name band. Irene was about 35 at the time, sophisticated and clever and beautiful. Well, I was sort of dazzled. I'd never known anyone like her before, and I fell in love. Well, it was fine for a few years. Then she began drinking, and then the tantrums, and the domineering. Then, well, after I got out of the Army, she said she wasn't well. She said she needed me. She became more and more demanding. I could hardly get her out of... I could hardly get out of sight. And talk about jealousy, Mr. Carter. Why,
I see. Barry, you got to the park last night about 11:25. Was Lillian there then?
No, Mr. Carter. I waited until after 12, but she never came. You see, she phoned me yesterday.
You mean
and
she wrote you a letter, don't you?
No, she phoned me. Lillian never wrote me a letter in her life. Those things that Irene showed you are forgeries.
Oh, no, Barry. They're in Lillian's handwriting. They've been checked by 2 experts.
Mr. Carter, so help me, I never saw one of those letters.
Barry, your story from beginning to end is full of holes. I don't know who would believe it. But possibly, just possibly, you put me onto something that'll fill those holes. And I hope for your sake that I can.
There you are, Nick. My men went over that ground, scraped an inch off the top, and sifted everything through a fine screen.
Any glass?
Here on this tray.
Now, No, these are all too large.
What did you expect to find, Nick?
The fragments of Lillian Howard's watch crystal, Patsy. If she was killed at 11:37, and the watch was broken when she fell, why weren't the pieces of glass near the body?
See, that's right.
She might have been killed someplace else. And the watch deliberately broken to show that she died at the exact time that Barry would be in the park to keep his date with her.
And the body driven to the park and dumped there after Barry had left.
It's been done before.
But who would do it?
The person who put the sleeping powders in Irene Kent's milk and planted the letters so she could find them and hand them over to us.
Nick, are you saying...
I'm saying an insanely jealous wife.
Irene Kent herself?
Yeah, Matty, what if Lillian Howard carried out her threat to go to Irene and lied about her relationship with Barry?
Could be. But how do you prove it?
Matty, I wonder how Irene Kent would look in a frame. Nice of you to offer to drive me back to my office, Mrs. Kent. Can't imagine why my car won't start.
It's perfectly all right, Mr. Carter. I appreciate your coming here to keep me posted. The evidence against Barry is complete, then?
Yes, the only thing we didn't find was that third bullet.
Well, how could they expect to find it out in the open?
Well, it wouldn't travel far after going through her body. Didn't even go through the back of her fur coat. Should have been on the ground beside her body.
I see.
Oh, here, let me get the door for you.
Oh, thank you.
It's a beautiful car, Mrs. Kent. I always was partial to convertibles myself.
Oh, before you get in, Mr. Carter, will you open the garage doors, please?
Oh, yes, of course. Here, wait. Why, what's this?
What?
On the floor of your car. A lead slug.
Oh, well, that's probably something that's come loose from the car.
No, Mrs. Kent. This is a bullet. A spent bullet.
What? It couldn't be.
Oh, but it is. Perhaps the reason we couldn't find the third bullet in the park was because it wasn't fired in the park. Perhaps Lillian Howard was killed in this car.
Well, she couldn't be. She was never in this car.
It'll be easy enough to prove whether this bullet was fired from the gun that killed her. And if she was in this car, there'll be other evidence. A blonde hair or two, glass from the broken watch crystal.
I remember now. Barry had the car last night.
No. He used a taxi, Mrs. Kent.
Well, maybe he used
Why did you want me to think that Barry had the car?
Well, I didn't.
I'll tell you why, Mrs. Kent. Lillian Howard was killed in this car, wasn't she? And you killed her.
How dare you?
You thought your husband was in love with her. You wanted revenge on both of them, didn't you?
How dare you?
She came to you, told you she was seeing Barry, so you set up your plan for revenge.
What, all the
You
preposterous
persuaded her to write those letters, paid her for them.
Lies, all lies.
Told her you wanted them for evidence for a divorce.
I did not.
And then you killed her.
No, I didn't.
The evidence is all against you, Mrs.
No,
Kent.
I didn't.
All against you.
All right, I did it. And I'd do it again. Women like her ought to be killed.
All right, Matty.
Got it. Nice going, Nick.
You had him here in the garage, listening.
Two of us, Mrs. Kent, and a tape recorder that took down every word you said.
Yes, but that bullet, I didn't see it there before.
It wasn't there, Mrs. Kent. I put it there.
Why, you miserable, deceitful
Deceit works two ways, Mrs. Kent. If you killed Lillian, it had to be in your car so you could drive to the park and shove the body out. You couldn't have carried her there.
Well, come on, let's get down to headquarters. I'll ride with Mrs. Kent. You and Patsy follow in your car.
Okay, Matty. I'll open the garage doors.
Yeah, move over, Mrs. Kent. I'll do the driving.
No, you won't.